Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Operation Freedom Briefings. The goal of these briefings in my weekly radio show, Operation Freedom, is to provide you information the bought-off, lamestream, fake media will not touch. You can join us for the live radio show every Sunday from 2 to 5 Eastern. It's free. Just go to davejanda.com. You can stream it live. Just hit the upper right-hand corner button that says Listen. Great analysis, great guests, information that I think it'll benefit you and can put you ahead of the curve. In addition, we're available 24/7, obviously, on this YouTube channel with our presentations, and also available at davejanda.com. We have a public side, and also the subscription side, 30 cents a day, about $9 a month. I believe one of the biggest bangs in all of the internet for what you can get. In addition, on that subscription service, we do a WTF geopolitical show. We bring information forward from my sources from behind the curtain that I've developed over the past 30 years. In addition, we have our Insider Insight show, where we bring an individual forward to discuss issues. We have the great Bob Mazur, former undercover DEA agent, coming forward, who was one of the principals in bringing down Pablo Escobar and the Medellin drug cartel. And he'll be one of our featured guests in the very near future. I encourage you to become a member of our subscription service. It supports this channel and what we do here on our YouTube presentations as well. Today's presentation is the Deep State has had a very bad month. Now, I know Morning Joe and Mika and Anderson Cooper and Shep Smith and Judge Napolitano are going to tell you something different. But they've really had a really bad month. Let's start out with this. A federal court ruling recently dismissing a Democratic National Committee civil suit against Julian Assange with prejudice was a devastating indictment of the U.S.'s ruling elite's campaign to destroy the WikiLeaks founder, and actually Donald Trump as well. It exposed as a fraud the entire Russiagate conspiracy theory peddled by the Democratic Party and the globalists, the corporate media, and the intelligence agencies for the past 3 years. The decision, and a shout out to Judge John Cattell of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, rejected the smears that Assange colluded with Russia. It upheld his status as a journalist and publisher and dismissed claims that WikiLeaks' 2016 publication of leaked emails from the DNC was illegal. It dismissed that. Despite the significance of the ruling and its clear newsworthiness, it has been subjected to an almost complete blackout by the entire media in the United States and internationally. Add to that, Judicial Watch, great organization, had a Freedom of Information Act request in, and it was granted on Bruce Orr, the number 4 person in the Obama Justice Department, for his 302 forms. 302 forms are forms that are filled out when the FBI agents interview someone. Well, they had to be declassified. So many people are saying, when's the declassification? It's already occurring. They had to declassify these Bruce Orr 302s in order to get them out to the public on this Freedom of Information Act that was arranged through Judicial Watch and its director, Tom Fenton. And frankly, Tom Fenton summarizes it like no other. Quote, this new Bruce Orr FBI 302s show an unprecedented and irregular effort by the FBI, Department of Justice, and the State Department to dig up dirt on President Trump using the conflicted Bruce Orr, his wife Nellie Orr, who worked for Fusion GPS, and the Clinton DNC spies at Fusion GPS. The FISA courts were not informed of this corrupted process when they were asked to approve and reapprove extraordinary spy warrants targeting President Trump and those around him, end quote. I believe over time it will further come out that, remember, the fake Russian dossier was reportedly authored by Christopher Steele. I believe it had big input from not only Nellie Orr, but Bruce Orr, the number 4 person in the Obama administration. This is huge. And that fake Russian dossier, which was paid for by the DNC and the Clinton campaign through an intermediary lawyer, was essentially an act of sedition. Sedition. And I believe that's ultimately what's going to happen. The charges that are ultimately going to be brought are going to be brought on charges of sedition. And this is why the deep state is panicked. Now remember, the Mueller investigation was beyond chastised recently by a federal judge when, remember, they charged all these Russian troll farms, well, as being conduits of the Russian government. United States District Court judge, federal judge, ruled, wait a minute, Mueller, everything I'm looking at here, I don't see any ties to the Russian government. You got to shut up about that. Now, they might have acted independently on behalf of the Russian organizations and companies, but there were no ties to the Russian government. That's a huge whack against, remember, part of Volume 1 of the Mueller report was about how there was this Russian collusion with the Russian government with these troll farms. This U.S. federal court judge said, sorry, buddy. Well, there was even more bad news for the deep state and the sedition players. This is from John Solomon from The Hill. He interviewed Joseph Mifsud's attorneys. Now remember, Mueller report and the Schiffs of the world, the Adam Schiffs of the world, and all these people are saying, well, Mifsud was working for the Russian government. Really? Not according to his attorneys. According to Mr. Mifsud's attorneys, their client was working for the CIA. John Brennan? Yeah, right. Who was also involved in the illegal surveillance with Clapper and Obama, utilizing a parallel platform called the Hammer to illegally surveil not just Trump, not just his team, but federal court judges, Supreme Court judges, you, me, millions of Americans, emails, phone calls, internet activities, financial transactions. According to Mr. Mifsud's attorney, their client was working for the CIA, John Brennan, director under Obama, and was not a Russian operative as reported by the Mueller witch hunt team of liars. John Solomon, well, I interviewed Mr. Mifsud's lawyer the other day, Stephen Rowe, and he told me that, and also provided me some deposition evidence to both Congress and myself, that his client was being directed and long worked with Western intelligence. And he was being directed specifically. And he was asked to connect George Papadopoulos to Russia. Yeah, dirty him up. Set up operation. Meaning it was an operation, some form of intelligence operation. That was the lawyer's own words for this. If that's the case, that means the flashpoint that started the entire investigation was in fact manufactured from the beginning. And more bad news for the deep state, and we've spoken about this before, but it bears repeating. Remember the video I did about the magnificent 7 pieces of information the deep state don't want you to know? Well, part of it was about Hillary's emails, that they were going directly to China, which explains why 18 of our operatives died while all this was going on in China. From the Epoch Times, why were Hillary, great organization by the way, great publication, Epoch Times, why were Hillary Clinton's emails blind copied a Gmail address named after a Chinese firm? All but 4 of the 30,490 emails from Hillary Clinton's unauthorized email server, by the way, Barack Obama had a pseudonym and also participated on that server, right? Were forwarded to a private Google email address featuring the name of a Chinese company, according to documents now released on August 15th. The metadata in Hillary Clinton's emails contained a Gmail address with the name of a Chinese company, Carter Heavy Industries at gmail.com, according to documents released by a Senate committee. Jeanette McMillan, an attorney for the Intelligence Community Inspector General, told Congress that this email with the name of a Chinese company appeared to serve as a live Dropbox for all of Hillary Clinton's emails. Virtually every email which was sent to and received to the Clinton email server was forwarded to Carter Heavy Industries at gmail.com, the documents show. McMillan told Congress that Carter Heavy Industries' email address in the Clinton email metadata was set up to receive a copy of every email sent and received as they were sent, even if the intended addressee was different. How special. McMillan told the FBI about the anomaly in 2016 at a meeting which included, that special dude, Peter Strzok, who had just taken over as the section chief handling the probe. They told Congress was told that Strzok was, quote, aloof and dismissive, end quote, and didn't ask many questions. Of course not, like a good globalist dweeb. McMillan told Congress that her understanding of the Cardi Heavy Industries email address was that it was a Dropbox to which the emails from Clinton's server were sent in real time. Quote, even if you didn't address an email to this address, the email went to it anyway, end quote, McMillan said. Now, the person setting this thing up was the person who set up the server, who also set up this email address, this Gambetta guy. In the letter, Horowitz and Intelligence Community Inspector General Michael Atkinson write that Carter Heavy Industries email account was created by the Platte River Network's employee Paul Gambetta, who managed Clinton's email server. Gambetta allegedly created the Carter Heavy Industries email in 2012. Wow. He then used the email in order to transfer messages archived on Clinton's second private server to Platte River Network server in 2014. What Gambetta did with the email account between 2012 and 2014, well, and who else had access to it other than the Chinese, before and after the transfer remains a mystery. Yeah, mystery. Right. Bad week for the deep state. Add to it, as we spoke about in our Dave versus the MSM on Friday, they had to pull their, quote, satirical, end quote, movie about elites hunting Trump supporters. Yeah, the thing called The Hunt, right? A new thriller by Universal Studios called The Hunt has been met with fury in the wake of two politically motivated events, El Paso and Dayton. The horrifying plot features liberal elites who go to a resort called The Manor. Are they able to hunt deplorables? As I mentioned in my Dave versus the MSM, no surprise that this hunt was created. Its producer, this Jason Blum guy, is an acolyte of who? Yeah, globalist, deep state player, pedophile, human trafficker, Harvey Weinstein. Right. No surprise. Bad news for the deep state, though. You see, I believe that movie was going to be used to either trigger some deplorables to perpetrate an event, or it was meant to send a message to all of us deplorables to instill fear in us, to get us to shut up, to be less vocal. I think it was a two-pronged sword that they were trying to hit us with. Well, guess what? It's been pulled. You know, and in the future, Weinstein, he's not done yet. And remember who he was tied with. Israeli intelligence, Mossad, right? That's who he had protect him. Recurrent theme when it came to good old Jeffrey, right? He was tied to Mossad, CIA, British MI6. Always remember who Weinstein hung with and who supported him. Big proponents of Weinstein. Big friends. Keep these names in mind as we move along this whole treacherous road. Meryl Streep, Oprah, Matt Damon, George Clooney, Ben Affleck, Tom Hanks. All best buds with Harvey Weinstein. Keep those names in mind as we move forward. And good old Joe Biden, he's just imploding as we speak. Another deep state player having trouble. Joe Biden's latest gaffe. Poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids. Imagine if President Trump said that. Quote, we have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. End quote. Wow. And the whole Jeffrey episode isn't done yet. And please go back to my last week's presentations as it relates to good old Jeffrey and his departure. That's still in the air. Remember the 4 reasons that when someone's brought into the emergency room at death's door, is it natural? Is it accidental? Is it suicide? Is it homicide? Always keep those in mind as we move forward. Reportedly now, we have a report about that it's finalized, yet as of the taping or the recording of this presentation, there is still no autopsy report out. Just leaks to the Washington Post, New York Times. Until we get that report and we can dissect it, don't believe anything you're hearing. But there are some other information that's come out. Clinton Treasury Secretary Larry Summers rode on Jeffrey's Lolita Express. Yeah, and who else is Larry? Larry Summers, well, he's the former president of Harvard. Oh, isn't that special? And I don't know if you saw it. It's just a terrible visual of the portrait they found in Jeffrey's townhouse in New York with Bill Clinton in a blue dress with his 6 fingers pointing. Six. What does that mean? Not good. With his red shoes on. This red high-heeled shoes on. In a blue dress, Monica's dress. Bad visual. But it was there. The red shoes are significant. The red shoes are a giveaway for folks that are involved in pedophile-related activities. True. The deep state had a very bad week and a very bad month. And I believe it's not done yet. We have the Inspector General's report coming out. We have more declassification. Remember, we've already had the declassification on the 302. So when people say, no, things happened on the that's not true. They had to declassify those Bruce Orr 302s for the Freedom of Information Act that Judicial Watch got on Bruce Orr. But there's going to be more declassification. I believe there's going to be more information come forward on Jeffrey. As soon as that autopsy report comes out, we will do a deep dissection on this platform. And with my 32 years in clinical experience in medicine, I believe we can give you some insight that you're not going to get other places. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you'll join us for the radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. Stream it live free at davejanda.com. I hope you'll become a member of our subscription service because it's our subscribers that support this YouTube channel. Without our subscription service, this YouTube channel goes away, the radio show goes away, and our platform, Dave Janda, goes away. Thank you very much for your time today. Until next time, dream big and dare to fail.